Here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now, and we're live right here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. It is a beautiful Wednesday, August 21st, right here on Eagles Now with producer Jake Chipper, flanked to my right, and there is a lot to get into on today's show. Just a couple of days away from the Eagles preseason finale against the Minnesota Vikings, and then after that, you look ahead to week one, Friday night, Eagles-Packers in Brazil. I think it's going to be a great game, a difficult game, because I do think the stock is up for the Green Bay Packers, but nonetheless, Eagles football is just around the corner. And I'm talking about the games that count. Eagles football is here, but the regular season quickly approaching. A loaded Eagles Now rundown here this afternoon, or this evening, or this morning, because we have people watching this show from every pocket of America and worldwide. I'm going to go through 10 Eagles cut candidates. I am going to show you proof that Howie Roseman wants to trade for a wide receiver 3. The Eagles getting great news today. Could Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee get dealt leading into 53-man roster cutdown day on Tuesday? And the Vic Fangio Effect, his fingerprints on this team, the improvements with this Eagles defense have already been noticed. Really fascinating numbers that we're about to go through. A programming alert. We are live right now, Wednesday, August 21st, as I said. Eagles Now. We'll be live once again on Saturday. Our official show begins with an hour pregame show at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So wake up with us. Have some drinks. Let's talk some Eagles football. That is Saturday. Eagles-Vikings, week 3 of the NFL preseason. I want to see all of you there. So hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell icon. Therefore, when we go live or when we push out a show, you will be notified. And if you're a real one, you always want to be a part of the Noti gang. Let's go, Bird Gang. If you've enjoyed our preseason and training camp coverage, I want you to type real one down in the comment section. Real one, roll call. And speaking of real ones, it's great to see the homie, the man, the myth, the legend, Brandon Ford. He is back with the $5 super chat. It's been a little while. My man takes trips to Mexico seemingly every couple of weeks, which is awesome. Good for you. You deserve it. And he says, go Birds! As for the real ones in the chat, Sava, Kane Angel, Tony Anthony, Earth, Harry Beck, Brian Doherty, Manny, Brian Shoemaker, Carol, Peter Thurman, Melvin Ford, Al Capper, all typing those real ones. Chip is also a real one. Chip, how you doing here today, my man?
I'm doing amazing, baby. It's one day closer to some real football. No, we got the last preseason game on Saturday. Excited for that one, but we're so close to when it really matters, baby. I'm excited. Go Birds!
Go Birds! Here is our Super Chat menu, by the way, for today's show. All Super Chats will get a shout-out if you send in a $10 Super Chat. You get to ring the Liberty Bell here on the program. $20 Super Chat. We want to make the office next to us go crazy, so we will do an EAGLES Eagles chant for a $50 Super Chat. No one likes us. We don't care. And if we get $100 in total Super Chats, I am doing a beer boot. We do have a sponsor that we want to tell you about that's making today's Philadelphia Eagles Now live possible. It is the Game Time app. If you like going to sporting events, comedy shows, concerts, theater events, be sure to download the Game Time app. It's the best ticketing app in the game. It's an authorized ticket marketplace of the NFL, Major League Baseball, and it makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down closer that it gets to first pitch or kickoff, and with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. If you want to go to Eagles-Vikings on Saturday, preseason week 3, plenty of tickets available. If you can't, we'll be live for the game right here on Eagles Now. Another cool function of the app, you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Seat 25, row 11. you see the vantage point and the price point. If you want the aerial view to pick where you'll be sitting at Lincoln Financial Field or at Citizens Bank Park. If you're looking for Phillies tickets, all of that is there. So download the app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Terms apply. First purchase only. Link is in the chat and in the description of our Eagles Now live show. So a loaded show on the docket, as I mentioned, and if you're ready to get things going, I want everybody right now to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. 150 people watching live. We should get to 100 likes in the next couple of seconds. Support the show. We certainly appreciate it by hitting that thumbs up icon and liking the video. Al Capra said, let's have some drinks at 9 a.m. on Sunday. Yeah, baby, fly, Eagles, fly. That's exactly what we'll be doing. Carol said, already liked. Brian Doherty said, Chase is a pimp. P-I-M-P. That's you, B-Doc. Brian Cruz saying, go Eagles. I love the support. I love the people in the comment section. BDG Bullet said, I'm back. It's good to have you back. Joe Lord said, Chase Das Boot coming first thing in the morning. Let's go. We can also do it this afternoon. $100 total. We're 95 away, and the Das Boot is coming right at you on this Wednesday. Okay, we are going to begin by taking a look at some Eagles cut candidates, 10 players to discuss here as we approach roster cut down day on Tuesday. We will be giving you the latest information on Tuesday once that happens. And how about 2-minute tennis with the $20 super chat? He has been a super chat MVP for a long time here on this channel, but I've actually gotten to know him over the last couple of days because we've been exchanging a lot of DMs on Instagram. $20 super chat. So great to meet you, my brother. Good to chop it up with you. Not sure how smart it would be, but I wish the offensive starters played a series or two this preseason. Dallas sucks. Dallas sucks. That is always the case. And if you've been watching the show, I have said time and time again, with this new offensive system, new parts, offensive line that has struggled at times in camp, and an offense that has struggled against this blitz-happy Eagles defense, and just the fact that you need to get on the same page, knock off the rust. Nothing replicates live game reps. I'm with you, 2-minute tennis. I really think that Nick Sirianni should and has to play his starters for a series or two. Look at what Andy Reid does. He played his starters, including Patrick Mahomes, the first two preseason games. Take note, it gets you physically fit and then mentally fit, and that lasts when those games become very important and paramount in December, January, and February. Okay, segment number 1 about to get underway. 20 likes away from 100 likes. Continue to smash that thumbs up icon, like the video. $100 total. I'm doing a Das Boot. We are at $25 right now. And Eagles Now is starting right now. So go Birds, and let's go. Yo, what's good? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Coming up, Eagles cut candidates. A look at some players who are on the roster bubble going into Saturday's preseason finale against the Minnesota Vikings. And keep in mind that roster cut down day is on Tuesday. So all 32 teams across the National Football League have to trim those rosters down from 90 to 53. And once we get our hands on that initial Eagles 53-man roster, we'll put that show right here on the channel, Philadelphia Eagles Now. I want to take a look first at our August NFC East sub-battle. We have dominated our NFC East counterparts all throughout this offseason as far as subscribers picked up. The growth of Eagles Now has been incredible. We're approaching 80,000 subscribers. It's my goal to get that silver 100,000 subscriber plaque from YouTube this year. Here in August, since the calendar flipped, we have some work to do. It's been awesome. We've picked up 1,600 subscribers, but we are behind New York Giants now and the Dallas Cowboys report inside the walls at Chat Sports. I want to see the Birds crush the Giants and the Cowboys on the field here in 2024, and I want to get that victory and the bragging rights inside this office. So help me out, hit that subscribe button, and at the end of the day, if you do hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, you'll get daily shows on the Birds to stay in the know with this football team. Eagles cut candidate number 1 is wide receiver Ainias Smith. I want to start here because Ainias Smith, a draft pick for Philadelphia this year. Some people might be surprised by seeing him included on this list, given that he was a 5th-round pick, and oftentimes, ideally, you don't want to see 5th-round rookies get cut. But during the preseason, Ainias Smith has struggled. He has looked and played small and slow. And when he was coming out of Texas A&M, 5'9", 5'10", 4.5 40-yard dash, those measurables and that lack of speed concern me for a smaller player. And where is there a spot for him on this 53-man roster at the wide receiver spot when there are other players ahead of him on the depth chart and he hasn't really done anything to prove that he's worthy of being on this team? I think the more likely path, he gets cut, he passes through waivers, Eagles bring him back as a developmental player on the practice squad. He did have that offseason shin surgery, and maybe he can continue to work back from that. I do want to give credit where credit is due, because after a slow start to training camp, preseason, he missed the spring. Coming off that surgery, he's played better. And on Wednesday, the final day of training camp, made a couple of plays, including a one-handed catch. We know he had that 2-point conversion to give Philadelphia the lead and the win in that second preseason game. Great play design and play call by Kellen Moore. So he has started to play better, but I'm just not sure when you look at this Eagles roster at the wide receiver spot, how Ainias Smith is going to make this squad. Now, there is a question. Do the Eagles have 5 wide receivers on the 53? Do they go with 6? Right now, because they're deep at other positions, I think they might go with 5 on the initial 53. And those 5 for me who make the cut and don't get cut, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Britton Covey, Johnny Wilson, and Paris Campbell. If that's the case, then Smith would be on the outside looking in. The same can be said for wide receiver John Ross. It has been a fun story to follow. When he ran that 4.2 40-yard dash coming out of Washington, he climbed up draft boards. He was selected early in that first round by Cincinnati. Unfortunately for him, his speed has never translated. He's never been able to stay healthy, and his production has never been there. So him making his return to the football field and doing it for his son, it's a great story. He retired, hasn't played in a game since 2021. He got motivated thanks to some wise words from his son that were, very cute, right? It's an awesome story. And he's had his moments throughout training camp. My issue with John Ross is that he's always been hurt. Yes, he might be a speedster running that 4.2. He's obviously not that fast now after all these injuries and him getting a little bit older. But what I've seen in game is that he struggles to separate with that speed. If that is your redeeming quality and you are an absolute burner, I want to see you open a lot. I don't see John Ross open a lot. In that second preseason game, he did contribute as a return man. I thought that was pretty telling as the Eagles wanted to include him there. Unfortunately, then he suffered a concussion. Albert Okwuegbunam is my third cut candidate here for Philadelphia. A surprising move this week by Howie Roseman and company as Philadelphia released C.J. Uzomah. And what that told me is that, of course, Dallas Goedert's going to make this team as one of the top all-around tight ends in the National Football League. Grant Calcaterra has really climbed the depth chart. He is tight end 2. The looming question, who is going to be tight end 3? If we're basing this on how players have performed, it should be E.J. Jenkins. E.J. Jenkins has had a really good training camp. He has flashed at moments in the preseason, does have some familiarity with this organization. He was with Philadelphia's practice squad last year. What a path that he had in college. He went to St. Francis and then South Carolina, then Georgia Tech. He spent time on the practice squads for the Jets, Eagles, Raiders, back on Philadelphia's practice squad. And when you compare him to a player like Albert Okwuegbunam has not produced. He has not been available. He has not flashed. He has not had a good training camp. E.J. Jenkins has, and I think the Eagles may have let go of C.J. Uzomah, knowing that E.J. Jenkins might have a spot on the 53. Another thing to look out for, could the Eagles have Johnny Wilson at tight end? They were very adamant when they drafted him that he would continue to be wide receiver. He's gotten first team wide receiver 3 reps, but something creative that Philadelphia could do. Cut candidate number 4, offensive lineman Matt Hennessy, the Temple University product who, coming out of high school, was actually an Ivy League recruit. And when the Eagles brought him in as a 26-year-old who was a third-round pick back in 2020 by the Atlanta Falcons, they had suffered some losses as far as depth goes along the offensive line. You're thinking that Matt Hennessy might have an opportunity to crack this team. I just don't see it with him. He's struggled when he's been on the field. He's been injured. And him being that third-round pick just hasn't translated, really. I know with Atlanta, he had some decent Pro Football Focus grades, then unfortunately held back because of a couple of different injuries with the Falcons. And when I think about this Eagles offensive line, these are my top offensive linemen to make the team, and there's 11 players on this list. You have your starters, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, and Lane Johnson. And then your backups. Fred Johnson has been worthy of a backup role. Trevor Keegan made it onto Baldy's breakdowns. That's always a good sign. Dylan McMahon was a draftee by Philadelphia late this year. I think the Eagles like his athleticism. You're not going to give up on Tyler Steen yet as a third-round pick from 2 drafts ago. And Darian Kennard has had a pretty good training camp. So that's 10 offensive linemen right there. This is an Eagles roster that's pretty deep at a couple of different positions. You go too deep at all of the positions from my calculations there, and Matt Hennessy, he doesn't make the team. To the defensive side of the ball, Marlon Tuipulotu. There has been a player emerging that makes Marlon expendable, and he could get cut because of that. And I'm talking about Thomas Booker, who Vic Fangio verbally mentioned this week as a player who has really popped. Really impressed. And if you've watched either during our watch parties or the actual preseason broadcast deep into the Eagles' first 2 preseason games, you will have seen Thomas Booker make some really impressive plays. So I think he may have beaten out others at that defensive tackle spot, including Tuipulotu and P.J. Mustipher, who did play well last week against New England. I think Moro Ajomo has popped at times. And then, of course, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter, the top 3 defensive tackles in that DT rotation. So Thomas Booker is a name, sneakily, who when the Eagles started off training camp, probably wasn't mentioned by a lot of people as making the 53, but because of a good camp, he might make the 53-man roster. Game Time is our sponsor for our Cut Candidates video, and stay tuned because we have more Cut Candidates to get to. With the Game Time app, it's absolutely incredible. An authorized ticket marketplace of the NFL and Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets to kickoff. So with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. They have these last-minute deals where you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, but also concerts, comedy, and theater. I love music and I love comedy, so I use the Game Time app for that as well. If you want to go to Eagles Vikings in South Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field on Saturday, the final tune-up for the Birds before Week 1 against the Packers in Brazil. Tickets available for that game. One of the cool functions is seeing the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And then you also get the aerial view too, if you want to be particular with where you want to sit, specifically with a certain yard line. If you want to go to a Philadelphia Phillies game, plenty of tickets available at the bank, the best atmosphere in Major League Baseball. So download the app for free, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS. Terms apply, first purchase only, $20 off. More Eagles Cut Candidates to get to. And I actually have 3 more. I thought I had 10, but I'm going with 3. Bad job by me. That's why I failed elementary algebra at Temple University. I just literally can't count sometimes, people. I just like talking, as many of you know. Oren Burks at the linebacker spot. Look, he just returned to practice this past week. He had not practiced since the first practice of training camp. And you think about this Eagles off-ball linebacker situation here, Devin White and Zach Bond have gotten a majority of the first-team reps. Nakobe Dean has really played and performed well over the last couple of weeks, whether it be in that joint practice against New England, in the game against New England, or against his own teammates. He's looked healthy, and at moments he's looked like the guy who was the best off-ball linebacker in college football a couple of years ago with the Georgia Bulldogs. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. might have an opportunity to get some snaps a lot earlier than what people had anticipated. His instincts, his feel, really good. And he has special teams ability. So too does Ben Van Sumeren, who made this club last year as a UDFA, and he is a special teams ace. Oren Burks is not really that rotational type of linebacker that you want dropping back in coverage. He's more of that special teams guy. And if you want to go with the special teams linebacker, do you want to invest in the young players with some upside who can become better players at that position, like a Trotter, like a Ben Van Sumeren? I think the Eagles might go in that direction. Cut candidate number 7 is cornerback Eli Ricks. What a great story he was last year. When out of Alabama, he was not drafted. He highlighted our list of Eagles UDFAs who made the team. He played awesome in the preseason, that pick 6 against Baltimore. And in the regular season, he played some good football. But the Eagles, led by Howie Roseman, really restructured this cornerback room and reshuffled the deck chairs, if you will. And there was a complete makeover at the cornerback position. I think the Eagles go with 6 corners on the initial 53. Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Keely Ringo, and Josh Jobe. A lot of people are going to fire back at Josh Jobe. But here's the deal, and this is why he might make the team over Eli Ricks. Josh Jobe is highly respected by his coaches. He might be the best special teams player on this Eagles team. He can contribute on special teams. Eli Ricks can't really contribute on special teams. That might be the deciding factor. Another route for Eli Ricks. Maybe the Eagles trading him for a wide receiver or late round draft compensation. And then lastly, Ty Davis Price. I think the Eagles, again, because they're deep at other positions, that is a theme of today's show, might go with 3 running backs on the opening 53. And it's going to be Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Gainwell, and Will Shipley. And I really like that running back rotation. I don't think the Birds go with 4 running backs on the 53. So Ty Davis Price, Lou Nichols, Kendall Milton, probably going to get cut. If you were to look at those players and say, who runs the best? It's Ty Davis Price. He's the most talented runner among that crop. Who runs the hardest and is better in short yardage situations? It's still probably Ty Davis Price over Kendall Milton. Who catches the ball the best might be Lou Nichols or Kendall Milton. But this is a numbers game here, and I think the numbers game leads to the Eagles having 3 RBs instead of 4, and because of that, Ty Davis Price does not make the team. Of note, though, he did sign a futures contract with Philadelphia. He'd be a great practice squad candidate in case an injury did happen at the running back position. 2 more players I want to talk about, and that's why I kind of threw out 10 players a little bit earlier. James Bradberry and Avonte Maddox. Let's talk about Bradberry first. I didn't include him on the corner list. I didn't include him as a cut candidate. Given the salary and given his positional switch to safety that Vic Fangio has applauded, and because Sidney Brown has not been activated yet, and the Eagles are a little bit light as far as depth goes at safety, I think James Bradberry and Avonte Maddox both make the 53-man roster as backup safeties. I know that Bradberry against New England struggled a little bit, didn't set the edge. He struggled in coverage and practice. The results have been solid. For Avonte Maddox, he was playing safety when he had that interception of Jacoby Brissett. So I think the Eagles really like what they've seen from Avonte Maddox. And Avonte Maddox, not a spot for him at slot corner because Quinyon Mitchell has beat him out. And Cooper DeJean, I think, is going to be a slot nickel corner on the inside. But for Avonte Maddox, I think he makes this team as a backup safety. So some cut candidates there for the Birds. Which players do you think are in danger of getting cut? Drop me some names or a name down below in the comments section. And as always, thank you so much for supporting us here on Eagles Now. One segment down, a couple of segments to get to. We're only ramping up on today's show. 300 people watching live, 108 likes. Please make sure you continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We're up to $25 in Super Chats. All Super Chats will get a shout out. $10, ringing the Liberty Bell. Any Super Chats over $10, we're ringing the Liberty Bell. So 2-minute tennis, ringing the Liberty Bell. He also sent in that 20 a little bit earlier. So E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! $50 Super Chat. We're singing No One Likes Us, We Don't Care. And if we get to 100 total, I am doing a beer boot. Let's continue to keep it moving on today's Eagles Now. And coming up next here on the show, don't you dare go anywhere, there is proof that Howie Roseman wants to trade for a wide receiver. We're going to break that down here after I get some water in me.
And I see Micah Roth in the chat saying, fill me in, what's the good news? After we talk about this, we're getting that good news.
We'll get into the good news soon.
It's good. It's great, I might say. So you're going to want to stick around. Peter says, what if I send 300? We both do beer boots? You be interested in that?
If what?
If Peter says, what if I send 300?
If you send 300, then we're doing 2 beer boots. And we're going to have a party here on the show.
Woo!
And if you send 300, I'm going to send you a Chat Sports shirt as well. So if you send 300, 2 beer boots, and I'm sending you a Chat Sports shirt. All right, coming up next, let's talk some trade buzz around Philadelphia. Here we go. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And on today's show, there is proof that Eagles general manager Howie Roseman is interested in trading for a wide receiver. What is that proof? Stay tuned to find out. Which brings us naturally to today's poll question. What is the biggest position of weakness on this Philadelphia Eagles roster going into week 1, going into the 2024 campaign? Is it wide receiver 3? Is it another position? Let me know right now down in the comment section and show me that you know ball. Could a wide receiver trade be incoming for Philadelphia? Let's discuss this. Let's run through it. And I have some trade ideas that we're also going to dissect. Look, Howie Roseman is not stupid. He's one of the more wise, smart, intelligent, savvy general managers in the National Football League. He's one of the best GMs in the sport. He knows that the situation at wide receiver 3 behind A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith is a little bit questionable. He knows that this year for Philadelphia, it's a Super Bowl or bust type of campaign. And I don't think that Howie Roseman is comfortable going into the 2024 season with a lack of depth, considering how much the Eagles as an organization, Howie, Jeffrey Lurie, Nick Sirianni, value offense. In the 2 Super Bowls that they've been in, the 2 most recent ones, Super Bowl 52, a win against New England, and then 2 years ago, 2022 campaign against Kansas City, what have the Eagles had to do? They've had to, in these high-scoring affairs, outscore their opponent. So they have put such a large emphasis organization-wide into offense. And Howie Roseman knows that there are question marks at that wide receiver spot. And this week, Tim McManus of ESPN, who covers the Eagles and has for years, said in his ESPN story that Howie Roseman will, quote, likely make a move for a wide receiver. The production, the play, and the availability at wide receiver 3 throughout training camp and preseason simply has not been good enough. Now you look at the Eagles' in-house options here after A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. First up, Paris Campbell. He is a fast player. In the pre-draft process, he clocked a 4.3 40-yard dash, yet he's always hurt. And his career yards per catch despite that speed, and you thinking that he's a vertical threat who could take the lid off of the defense, is under 11 yards. John Ross, also a speedster, a 4.2 40-yard dash guy. He, like Paris Campbell, is always hurt, and he has not played in an NFL game since 2021. He retired before deciding to come back, and he's trying to launch that comeback with Philadelphia. Britton Covey might be my favorite option on this list, but he's 5'8", small, is a great punt returner, but an unknown commodity at wide receiver because he has 4 career receptions, and he is not a vertical threat who can get up and down. He is more of that short area, 10-yard split possession wide receiver. Johnny Wilson, I'm intrigued. I think that he can become a player in this league. He's the tallest wideout in the NFL. He's also a rookie, and at Florida State, he had drop issues. During training camp, he's dropped some footballs. He was a sloppy route runner at Florida State, and sometimes he played smaller than his size. Ainias Smith, in the pre-draft process, he was 5'9" and ran a 4.5 40-yard dash. He's small and a slower player. He is looked on game tape small and slower. And then you have Joseph Ngata, who is a big target, really thrives with those back shoulder balls, and can win with physicality and size on the outside, but he lacks speed, and he's not really that wide receiver 3 out of the slot. So my take here is this. Look, if A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith were to get hurt, and everybody on that depth chart has to slide up, do you have confidence in that wide receiver room? I wouldn't really have confidence in that wide receiver room. Part of what makes Philadelphia as an offensive unit so dangerous is how difficult they are to defend. And that's why I'm so excited to see what Kellen Moore can do with this offense, and why I think that Jalen Hurts can have a monster 2024 campaign, because there are so many weapons on this Eagles offense and so many different ways in which you can incorporate and utilize them. You try to stack the box against Saquon Barkley, you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. If you try to stack the box as a defense and you double cover A.J. Brown and or Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts can either run it or he could throw it to Dallas Goedert, who leaks out in the flat, down the number, down the seam. You think about how the Eagles can operate as a running team. The Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley read option, that's going to be very difficult to defend. Because if you set that edge, Saquon can run up the middle. If you crash, Jalen Hurts can keep it and get around the outside. So you have this elite 1-2 wide receiver punch and a really good tight end. But if Brown or Smith were to get injured, your depth gets hit, then players are playing out of position as far as where they are on the depth chart, and the Eagles become an easier team to defend. Also, Eagles have plenty of cap space right now, and they're going all in and trying to win a Super Bowl because the Jalen Hurts contract does not count more than $32 million against the cap until 2027. So it's important, I believe, for Howie Roseman to go all in right now. Now, we have 3 trade ideas for a wide receiver 3 that we're about to get to. And I want to give a shout out to Jimmy Kempski of Philly Voice, because he put together an article with these trade ideas, and I want people to react to them to get that conversation going. And of course, I have my thoughts as well. Trade idea number 1 is that the Eagles move off of their 3rd-round pick offensive guard from 2 drafts ago in Tyler Steen. He gets sent to the Indianapolis Colts, and the Eagles bring in Alec Pierce, who's a really intriguing wide receiver. His first 2 seasons in the National Football League with subpar to average mediocre quarterback play, 73 catches, 1,107 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yards per catch, though, 15.2. That is that type of vertical player that I think would work very well on this Eagles offense. He's also an impressive athlete at 6'3", 211. His spider chart is very impressive. His relative athletic score on a scale of 0 to 10 was at a 9.87 when he was coming out of Cincinnati. He can run, he can fly, he can go up and get it, he can pick up yards after the catch. And with the Colts, he's been in that wide receiver 3 role, so the wide receiver 3 role for him would be nothing new. Why this trade could work for both sides. Eagles obviously need an upgrade at wide receiver 3. The Colts have a weak link along the offensive line, and it's at right guard. So even though the stock for Tyler Steen has been a little bit down, and he's coming off that ankle injury, and he got beat out by Mekhi Becton, the Colts could look at him as a developmental piece and an upgrade for their offensive line. And I think the Colts could be sneaky good this year if Anthony Richardson can work out. Shane Steichen did a great job with Gardner Minshew last year. They nearly won the AFC South. Before we continue to move forward, it is my goal as the host of Eagles Now, as a lifelong Eagles fan, growing up in Westchester, Philadelphia area, going to Temple, it's incredible to be able to talk about this team every day. And I want to continue to build this channel. So my goal, 80,000 subscribers before week 1, Friday night, Eagles Packers in Brazil. I think that we can get there. You look at the figures here to my right, we are currently sitting at 78,613 subscribers. We're a little less than 1,400 subscribers away from 80K with week 1 coming up. Hit that sub button right now for informative, entertaining, insightful, thought-provoking Eagles content that involves you, the Eagles fan. Our sponsor for today's show, by the way, is Game Time. If you're looking for the lowest price at the best price guaranteed, or the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed, the Game Time app is where it's at. Game Time is incredible because they have these last-minute deals, and you can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and more. There are a lot of key elements to this app which make it very special. The all-in pricing tool, you can toggle this feature so it shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. How often are you on a ticketing app and you think you're paying one price, then you go to checkout and it's $150 higher than what they originally showed you? Not the case with Game Time with the all-in pricing tool. If you toggle that, the flash deals, you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. And with the last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off. You can save additional money if you download the app for free, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, $20 off. That's the code CHATSPORTS. Terms apply. That is for first purchase only. If you want to go to Eagles Vikings preseason finale on Saturday afternoon at the Link in South Philly, tickets available for that. I also love how you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. We'll put all of this information down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. You want to go to a Phillies game, Citizens Bank Park is an electric atmosphere. Get involved, get in the game with Game Time, $20 off using the code CHATSPORTS. Trade idea number 2 for a wide receiver 3. The Texans receive cornerback Eli Ricks, who I'm not sure he's going to make this team. And then the Eagles receive Robert Woods, a veteran wide receiver who has some versatility. He can play inside, outside, and the Texans, after that Stephon Diggs trade, are loaded at wide receiver. They have Diggs, they have Nico Collins, they have Tank Dell, they have John Mechie, they have Noah Brown. So Robert Woods could be a trade piece for a playoff and Super Bowl contender. Rick's probably not going to make this team. That's just the reality of the Eagles cornerback situation. I like him as a young player, but Josh Jobe has more special teams ability than him, which might be the deciding factor. So this is a way to get some value back for a player who, if you cut him, you don't get anything back for him. Robert Woods is 32. He is on the downside of his career, the downslope, but I do like how he can play inside, outside. He's been a wide receiver 3 before. He's put up massive production, hasn't had more than 1,000 yards in a couple of seasons, but he does help the Eagles buy some time to develop Johnny Wilson and Ainias Smith. He's also a well-respected veteran who can help the Eagles with that development. Last year in 2023, it's not like he was a complete slouch. 40 catches, 426 yards, only did have 1 touchdown and a long of 26. So not the player who was terrific with the Los Angeles Rams, but a very good player nonetheless. And then there's trade idea number 3, which is really intriguing for you draft nerds who know the name and know the player, Quentin Johnston. wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. All the Eagles have to do here is give Los Angeles a 2025 fifth-round pick, and they get back a player with a lot of pedigree. And we know that Howie Roseman loves to bring back and bring in players with high draft pedigree, because there was a reason that player was drafted, and Howie Roseman firmly believes in the Eagles player development program. Philadelphia has also a lot of picks in the 2025 NFL draft. Johnston, a former first rounder in 2023, why he could be a trade chip this early. This is a new regime for the Chargers, led by Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has no ties to Quinton Johnston, and throughout training camp, he's been wide receiver 4. Not good for a player who was selected in the 20s only 2 drafts ago. He's behind Josh Palmer and DJ Chark and Ladd McConkey. He's also an intriguing player as far as the skill set and the athleticism. A tall wide receiver who can go up and get it, who has some decent speed. I saw him play live a couple of years ago, actually in Caleb Williams' first collegiate start when he was playing with Oklahoma, and Quinton Johnston that night really popped. As for those Eagles 2025 draft picks, they can afford to give one of these away. They have their own first, their own second, their own third. They got a third from the Miami Dolphins as Howie Roseman was wheeling and dealing back in April. A fourth from the Detroit Lions. They have their own fifth. They have the Texans' fifth. Then they have 2 seventh-round picks. So 9 total picks right here for Philadelphia. And Quinton Johnston was a very frustrating player to watch last year. The separation wasn't there. Sometimes he played smaller than his size, and he had some drops. He had some concentration issues. Those are things that could drive Jim Harbaugh nuts. Only 38 catches, 431 yards. Unfortunately for the Chargers, it seemed as though over the last couple of years, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, 2 really good wide receivers, could never stay healthy and on the field together. So the Chargers, with this new regime, cut bait with those 2 players, letting them go. Could they do the same thing with Quinton Johnston to kind of start fresh in that wide receiver room? So what say you? What trade idea do you like the best? Type 1, 2, or 3. Some good trade ideas there from Jimmy Kempski, Philly Voice. Share your thoughts with us. One more segment to get to. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. We're at $25 in Super Chats if you want to donate to the show. $10 will ring the Liberty Bell. $20 for an Eagles chant. $50, no one likes us, we don't care. And if we get to 100 total, I'm doing a beer boot. 3 beers, 1 boot. We always like to party and have a good time here on the show.
Let's get wacky on a Wednesday, huh?
E-Money said Eagles are going to go 15-2. Brian Doherty said he likes trade idea 2 or 3. Elijah Wilmot said, you know what, B-Doc, I like number 1 with Alec Pierce.
I like the Alec Pierce idea a lot. That's a player with some talent.
Yeah.
Just hasn't been able to quite work out in Indy.
I liked him in the pre-draft process.
I think he'd be a good fit, too, with what the Eagles already have. B-Doc. Chipper's my pick for wide receiver. Put me in, coach! Put me in there! I got some juice. I can do what Britton Covey does. Nah. Al Caprasis, too. Elijah, 2 or 3. Carroll likes the Pierce idea.
Elijah.
John Mechie's another interesting option, Dan.
Yeah, I've talked about him a lot on the show.
Yeah, quite a bit. We've talked about
If I were to rank like my top wide receiver trade targets, he'd be up there for me. He has the pedigree. He has the ability. His numbers at Alabama were stupid, but he's buried on the depth chart. I think he has a lot of talent. Howie Roseman loves that talent, loves where he was drafted, and I think that he could be a really good player in this league. I am Reed Blankenship's cousin. You know, I haven't had a lot of people in the comment section saying I look like Reed Blankenship. I don't necessarily see it, but I have had a lot of people say that. Is it just because we're both white? Might be. Okay, segment number 3 coming up next. Let's do it. Everybody who's watching right now, you're a real one. Type real one in the chat. We are, let's see, 40 likes away from 200. Let's get there before the segment is over. Coming your way on today's edition of Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports, I'm Chase Sr. 3 stories that we want to dissect and get to. Could the Eagles trade a quarterback, either Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee? The Philadelphia Eagles getting great news in the lead up to their preseason finale against the Vikings on Saturday. And we're going to take a look at some really fascinating numbers which show the Vic Fangio effect on the defensive side of the football has been real for Philadelphia. Speaking of that preseason game, week 3, it's the last tune-up for the Birds. We have a programming alert. We're doing another watch party right here on this show. We'll be live on Eagles Now at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Saturday. Wake up with us. Let's watch some Eagles football together. We'll do an hour pregame show taking a look at this top storylines, top positional battles, marquee players to watch during the game, live play-by-play, audience interaction, and instant reaction. And then after the game, a post-game show with all of my thoughts with what transpired during that game against Minnesota. Story number 1. Could the Philadelphia Eagles realistically trade either Tanner McKee or Kenny Pickett? This is a very popular storyline among NFL fans right now because the fan bases look at the Philadelphia Eagles and they say, the Birds have Jalen Hurts. He's obviously their franchise quarterback. And they have a solid QB2 with either Pickett or McKee, leaving one to be expendable. I have a lot of thoughts on this as these rumors have really started to pick up, especially after the injury that was season-ending for J.J. McCarthy with the Minnesota Vikings and other teams either needing a backup or having question marks with their starters with a team like the Las Vegas Raiders. So the thought here is that the QB position in the National Football League, this goes without saying, is obviously very important. And there are still teams with quarterback needs, either with their starters or their backups. And if you don't have quality depth at the quarterback position, you're screwed. Because if QB1 goes down, the season that you have worked so valiantly for kind of goes down the drain. And other teams look at the Eagles and they say, well, if we want to bring in Kenny Pickett, he's very experienced in this league. He's done some good things from time to time. And even though he struggled in the preseason with Philadelphia, and Tanner McKee, in my opinion, has beat him out, even though Philadelphia won't name McKee QB2 and has done some more impressive things as compared to Pickett, Pickett does have a lot of experience in this league. He has started 24 games. So that is worthy of a season and a half of starting experience. And then other teams also look at Tanner McKee and they say, this guy is throwing with timing, touch, accuracy, and power toward the sideline. Those are big league throws. He looks comfortable in the pocket when things get crowded. He has decent mobility. He has really good size. He can drive that ball down the numbers, down the sideline. He can make any throw on the field. And they look at Tanner McKee as a player who can become something down the road with some really intriguing skills. And so that could make one of those players a trade candidate for Philadelphia because other teams in need of a quarterback might fork over a nice little package of either picks and or a player for either Pickett or McKee. And CBS Sports put together the most likely players to get traded in the lead up to the 2024 season, and they had Kenny Pickett on that list. And they have the Chargers and the Vikings as the top trade destinations for Kenny Pickett. Here's what CBS Sports had to say. Even after a relatively underwhelming summer, the Eagles would surely prefer to keep Pickett's NFL experience on board as insurance for Jalen Hurts. The ex-Steelers starter has never enjoyed a better supporting cast. That said, the Eagles are always in the business of collecting and flipping quarterbacks, and third-stringer Tanner McKee has shown enough poise to warrant number 2 consideration in back-to-back years. Pickett is local to the Philadelphia area. He's from New Jersey, by the way, but he'd almost certainly sign off on a chance to get right back into a starting gig, adding to the appeal of another move. Now, there are reasons why the Vikings and Chargers have been listed. As I said, J.J. McCarthy out for the year. That job, the number one role, going to go to Sam Darnold, at least as of right now. And he's obviously had his ups and downs throughout his NFL career. And then Justin Herbert has been injured. He did return to practice, but the backup quarterback situation with the Chargers is not great. What I think happens, I think the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, that contingent leading this organization, they like their quarterback room. And I think that Philadelphia ends up holding on to both. This is an organization that has said publicly, and we have seen this play out before our very eyes, that they're a quarterback factory, they value the quarterback position, and Philadelphia, with what we've seen, has a long backup quarterback history. In my lifetime, how many backups have we seen win huge games with massive implications for this organization? From Coy Detmer to A.J. Feely to Jeff Garcia to Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl to Michael Vick. The Eagles invested in Gardner Minshew. They drafted Jalen Hurts second overall an offseason after they paid Carson Wentz. So they will invest and be very aggressive in doing so with diverting resources to the quarterback position. And I think they want these three quarterbacks on this team because you simply don't know what's going to happen. They also look at this Eagles team and they say, we're stacked with talent. We're loaded. If Jalen Hurts were to go down, we have two options that we think that we can win with. With Kenny Pickett and Tanner McKee, we deal one away. We take away from that important depth. And especially pertaining to Tanner McKee, I don't think the Eagles trade him away in any instance unless a team offered like a second or a third. And a team would do that if they really thought that Tanner McKee could be a starter in this league. Philadelphia sees the upside with Tanner McKee, what he can become as a young developmental quarterback who's shown some really impressive flashes in back-to-back preseasons. We've been talking about that here on this show the last 2 years. Tanner McKee is also under contract for the next 3 years. And with Kenny Pickett, consider what the Eagles gave up to bring him in. I do want to pop up this poll question here because I do want to hear from the audience. Who should be QB2? Type KP for Kenny Pickett, TM for Tanner McKee. I put this question on our community tab of our YouTube channel a few days ago, and the results were fascinating. 86% Tanner McKee, 14% Kenny Pickett on 10,000 votes. Now you can let me know in the comment section. So that was story number one. Could the Eagles trade a quarterback? A lot of chatter and buzz there, given some injuries and uncertainties at the quarterback spot for other teams across the NFL. Coming up next, Eagles got some great news, and we're going to do a deep dive into how the Vic Fangio effect has been real so far throughout preseason and training camp. Our sponsor for today's show is Prize Picks, the number one daily fantasy sports app in the game with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it is just you against the numbers, not a computer. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you'll watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. I also really like the specials that Prize Picks offers. For instance, 1 Caleb Williams passing yard, that's right, 1, gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right, only 1 gets you an automatic win. So you get 4 weeks of that in September. Our selections that we like looking ahead to the upcoming football season: Patrick Mahomes, less than 4,299.5 passing yards. Tyreek Hill, more than that number on your screen. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have more than 1,000 yards rushing for Philadelphia this year. So his more or less is only at 999.5. I would smash that if I were you. And then Garrett Wilson, with Aaron Rodgers healthy, I think he has a monster year. We like the more than 90.5 receptions. So daily fantasy sports made easy. Play the more or less game. Download the PrizePicks app, use the code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks for a deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, run your game. Philadelphia Eagles have gotten some great news in the lead up to their preseason finale against Minnesota. Kupp DeJean said on Wednesday that he is going to make his professional debut and he is going to play in that game against the Vikings. And what I want to see from Kupp DeJean, a few things. Number one, he broke his leg last year at Iowa, and then in the lead up to training camp, suffered that hamstring injury. So of the utmost importance for me, I want to see him stay healthy. Kupp DeJean is also looked at as a freak athlete. Vertical bounce, 40-yard dash speed, a white corner, which obviously is very rare. Does that athleticism translate? And where do the Eagles play him? Because he can play all around the field, as we're about to talk about. And then as he made his return to team drills over this past week, and he made his return to practice last week in that joint practice against New England when he was doing some individual stuff, he's been getting some return reps. Did the Eagles try him out as a returner against Minnesota? I just want to see those reps to see how he looks, and if he looks good, could he be a weapon, special teams-wise, for this Eagles team here in 2024? At Iowa last year, he was utilized as a chess piece on that defense for Kirk Ferentz. 28 snaps around the defensive line, 23 snaps out of the slot. That's primarily where the Eagles have had him. He played outside corner the most, 630 snaps there. He was in the box 23 snaps. And for those of you who think he's a safety, he did only line up deep once. So doesn't have a lot of experience doing that. So far with the Eagles, he has gotten a bulk of his snaps on the inside, playing slot corner with the second team defense. Occasionally, he has played with the first team defense on the inside. With that second team defense from time to time, he also has gotten some outside corner reps, but the Eagles are so deep at that cornerback spot. Story number 3. Let's talk Vic Fangio here. I understand it's the preseason. You don't want to make too much of it, but so far throughout training camp, so far throughout the preseason, the Vic Fangio effect has been on display. And I've said this a couple of times here on the show, but I think one of the biggest reasons why I think the Eagles can get back to NFC contention, the coaching is going to be better. They're also a motivated team. But from a coaching standpoint, obviously they have all this talent on both sides of the football. Last year, Sean Desai was in over his skis, and he had 1 year of play calling experience. Brian Johnson had never called plays as an offensive coordinator in the National Football League. At times, he seemed to be overwhelmed, and Nick Sirianni's vanilla offensive system, 30-second and pre-snap motion, didn't do him any favors. Vic Fangio has seen everything that you can see in the NFL. He has coached multiple defensive position groups, and when you think about some of the best defensive minds of this generation, Vic Fangio's fingerprints are all around the NFL because his scheme is trusted. His scheme has been proven to work, and I just think his experience is going to do wonders for this Eagles team. So far, throughout training camp, the Eagles have had longer, more physical practices. Vic Fangio got in the ear of Nick Sirianni. This is proven and said, we need to have longer, more physical practices, especially with how the Eagles finished last year and how soft they were, especially as a defense. Also, what have we seen the first 2 preseason games? The Eagles' defensive starters have played in both, whereas the Eagles' offensive starters have not played in either game. According to Elliott Shore-Parks, going into the final day of training camp on Wednesday, August 21st, given longer practices, more intense practices, the Eagles had 83 more team reps. That is like a game and a quarter if the game is moving quickly. So that's a lot of reps right there. More reps than what the Eagles were getting last year. And their practices on average have been about 20 minutes longer this year as compared to last year. And how about these results in the preseason with Vic Fangio as this team's defensive coordinator. Through 2 games, the Eagles have allowed 323 total yards. Opponents are 8 of 27 on third down conversions. The Eagles were terrible in that department last year, historically bad. And the Eagles have only allowed 22 first downs and 26 total points. Vic Fangio has also dialed up the pressure, and the Eagles have blitzed a lot more. Those numbers, very, very impressive. And I know it's only the preseason, but hopefully that is a sign of things to come. And Vic Fangio being seasoned, Vic Fangio being experienced, him being I don't take your bullshit, we're going to practice and we're going to practice hard. I'm going to put you in a position to succeed, old school football mind. I think the Eagles have been beneficiaries of that so far in the lead up to the 2024 campaign. Be sure to give me a follow on X at Chase_Senior. Be sure to give me a follow on Instagram at Chase_Senior. In addition to the long-form content here on the show, I also put out a lot of short-form content on my social media pages. Super chat coming in from Jonathan Hall, a $10 super chat. How about the linebackers? I think we'll have a top 15 unit this year. I still feel like that's our weakest unit. So Howie Roseman just historically does not invest in linebacker and safety. The Eagles are 30th in positional group spending at linebacker and 32nd at safety. Now, I think that Devin White is due for a huge year. The Eagles have not had a linebacker like him since Jeremiah Trotter. I know that TJ Edwards played very well for this team, but he was not an athletic freak like Devin White. Devin White just causes havoc. Devin White causes issues. Devin White is one of the more athletic, talented linebackers in the NFL. Last 2 years, his stock has been down, was looking for a new deal. He was pouting. You get a motivated player for very cheap. And I've seen this guy during a Super Bowl run be the best defensive player on the field. I've seen him be an all-pro in this league. And for the Eagles to add him, I think that he is going to be really good this year. And he's going to be a staple and a backbone for this Eagles defense. We'll see what happens with Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. Obviously, there are some risks there. There also isn't a lot of depth at that linebacker spot. It is certainly one of the weaker units on this football team. Jonathan Hall, thank you for that. And anytime somebody sends in a $10 super chat, we're ringing the Liberty Bell. We are at $35 in super chats. I am going to turn on the 2-minute super chat shot clock. If anybody sends in a super chat within 2 minutes, we'll stay live and hang out. Chip and I have time. If not, we'll sign off. We'll do some other things, and we'll hop on out of here, and we'll see you on Saturday for our watch party.
Go Birds! 2 minutes on the clock, baby.
Let's go 50% off of a couple of items. $5 super chat, I'm ringing the Liberty Bell for you. $10 super chat, Eagles chant. $25 super chat, no one likes us. If we still get to 100 total, I'll rock with the beer boot.
I see Angela in the chat. What up, Angela? Good to hear you're doing well. Elijah, Devin White gonna go crazy. I hope he does, man. A lot of people hating on him. Don't think he's going to be any good. Thought he hasn't been any good. But he's obviously very talented. Very athletically gifted. So, new situation here.
Alex Irvine, $5 super chat. We're ringing the Liberty Bell for Alex. Appreciate it, brother.
Shout out Alex Irvine.
Is Barkley hurt? He did return to practice, didn't partake in team drills today. So a little bit of an injury scare yesterday, but nothing serious. That's good. Angela G in the building. What up, Angela?
Who in here is going to join us on Saturday for our watch party? Type me. I want to see who's going to be with us.
Yeah, type me if you're going to be here.
Where the real ones at?
Elijah, 25. Let's go. No one likes us. No one likes us. No one likes us. We don't care. We're from Philly, fucking Philly. No one likes us, we don't care. No one likes us, no one likes us, no one likes us, we don't care. We're the Eagles, the fucking Eagles. No one likes us, we don't care. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Elijah right now, our Super Chat MVP. Elijah. Good stuff, Elijah. Appreciate it, brother. Little 25 piece. Go Birds!
Go Birds! Shout out Elijah. Big time.
Lamont Lancaster, real one, roll call. Good to see some real ones in here, still hanging out. Always awesome. We are at 65, Jonathan Hall. We are at 65. Elijah, no problem, bro. Love the work y'all do. Salute. Salute. Eugene Snyder is a real one. Kane Angel's going to be there. You're actually going to the game, or you're going to be with us? Watching from overseas. Be quite the trip to the States. Oh! Look who it is. 2-minute tennis. E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles! Dallas sucks. Dallas sucks. Dallas sucks. Dallas sucks. How about them Cowboys? 2 minute. A Benji. And then Andrew Nathan with the 5. Chase, your thoughts on Devin Duvernay, Russell Gage, Jonathan Mingo, Tutu Atwell as potential wide receiver 3 options. Devin Duvernay, one of the better returners in the game. He's really electric as a wide receiver. Leave some meat on the bone. Russell Gage, no. Jonathan Mingo, no. Tutu Atwell, though, he's shifty. I really liked him coming out of Louisville, and he could be an electric playmaker, too. Andrew Nathan, I like it, brother. I like it. All right, I'm going to go get the beer boot ready. Chip is going to chop it up with everybody. I'm just saying, we are $30 away from 200. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
If we can get to that 200, I might just have to do some drinking on my own here. I might just have to. I'll tell you what, if we get to, since we're 30 away, if we get to 200, I will do a beer bong. If someone sends in a 50 or more, I will do a boot. That's the deal. Devin Duvernay. Some interesting names here, Andrew Nathan. What's going on, man? If I had to pick, I kind of like Jonathan Mingo, actually. I thought he showed some good things. Hasn't played a whole lot for the Panthers, but when he's been out there, I think he's been pretty good. I like taking a chance there as a younger player who's still ascending. Tutu Atwell, Chase said shifty, but very small, so some injury concerns always there. But, you know, coming out, he was very, very small, and people kind of criticized how early the Rams took him because of that size, but they were able to utilize him more than just a gadget guy. Like, he was able to play as a legit wide receiver. B-Doc, I'm chilling at your crib. B-Doc. What's up, brother? These couple minutes with Chip are what really makes this show during Chase's restroom trips. Hey, he's going to get his beer boot, too. Got to do the beer boot. What's up, Gregory? Shout out Gregory Whaler. Let's go back up to, I remember I asked everybody who was going to be with us for our watch party. It's a Philly John, Kane Angel, Angela, Elijah, BDG Bullet, Lamont Lancaster. All saying, no doubt, we in there. What's up, BDG? Andrew Nathan avoids like Atwell's big playability. Yeah, he certainly does bring that with his speed and his quickness and his shiftiness. Kind of would be like a supercharged version of Britton Covey. Or almost like what you kind of hoped you were getting out of an Ainias Smith. As that shorter, shiftier guy, Ainias Smith's just not quite as fast as Tutu Atwell. Russell Gage to me is just a guy. He's a jag, just a guy. And I don't think Devin Duvernay really has it as a receiver. All-pro returner, though. All-pro returner, which is why I don't think the Ravens would move on from him because returner is, with the new kickoff rules, is such a big deal now. You don't want to move off of an all-pro at that position. Mingo is a 50.6% catch rate, 6th worst in the league. Yeah, certainly not ideal. Now, it hasn't been great quarterback play there in Carolina either. But yeah, 43 for 413. I actually drafted him on my fantasy team. He's sitting in my taxi squad, waiting on the breakout there. Angela, we love you. No one does sports like you guys. Appreciate all your hard work. Angela, we love you. Always showing the love. It's awesome. That Angela's a real one. Shout out to you, Angela. Beer boot time!
Beer boot time! Why did B-Doc say congratulations?
He just said Eagles just signed Chipper as their 3rd-string quarterback.
Oh. I was like, what life event did I miss for Chip?
That would be a big life event if that happened.
I'm going to be a dad.
Oh, no.
All right. Cheers to 2-minute tennis and all of the real ones. 3 beers, 1 boot, $100 super chat. Here we go. Go Birds.
Everyone type chug. Here we go. Chug, 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 chug. Where the chugs at? Let's go. Elijah spamming the chug. Let's go, baby. There go the bubbles. It's the home stretch now. Chug, 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 chase, 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 chase. Boom! Yes, sir.
Let's go. Woo! All right. I think we're signing off with that. Oh. Oh! Jonathan Hall, 20. What did we say we were doing for 20? No one likes us?
Yes, 'cause that's half. Are we still doing half off?
That was only for those 2 minutes.
20 is.
No one likes us, or EAG?
Eagles chant.
All right. Jonathan Hall, Eagles chant. Let's do Fly, Eagles, Fly. We can do Fly, Eagles, Fly for Jonathan. Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. Fight, Eagles, fight, score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, hit 'em high, and watch our Eagles fly. Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Let's go. Let's go. All right, now should we sign off?
Al Capper gonna get drunk at 9 a.m. Go Eagles! That's what it's all about.
Do people sing along with us when we do that? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm actually curious. I'm not going to cap. No Al Capper. I want to know. B-Doc. Let's go. Brian Reed, Carol, BDG, all singing. Good stuff. I wonder if at some point we could get like a graphic that has like the lyrics on it and like put it on the screen. And it's like every line that we're on is like highlighted. You just see what I'm saying? Like fly, Eagles, fly. On the road to victory. Fight, Eagles, fight. Score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Jonathan Hall said, why for sure? Nice. All right. We're going to sign off. Eagles, Vikings, Saturday. Pre-game show starts at 12. I am hoping that Nick Sirianni plays his offensive starters. I just feel like they have to get their starters some reps at some point. And hopefully that's the time. Because then we've got some fun football to watch. If not, a lot of Tanner McKee, Kenny Pickett, and a lot of position battles and depth guys. But we'll see you noon Saturday, barring any breaking news. Jonathan Hall going to be tuned in November 10th, AT&T Stadium. Nice. All right, great show today. Thanks, everybody, for your support. For Chip, I'm Chase, for the Bird Gang and the Fly Eagles Now family. We out. See ya.